Yes, that's true. Your undergrad, university, and even your city can make a lot of difference when it comes to getting an admit for your master's abroad. So here is how the structure of the video is going to look like. First, I'll discuss the factors that are important when shortlisting your university for your undergrad. And second, I will discuss if you missed out on those factors and if you're already doing your bachelor's, then what are the things that you can do to overcome those factors. And the third and the really important thing that I'll be covering is, irrespective of if your university matches the criteria and everything, what is that one trap which students commonly fall into that you should not fall into. And the hint is that they think that this is going to be really valuable when they'll put that on their resume or the SOP, but it is not. So make sure that you stick till the very end. Welcome to Bani Abroad. If you're new to this channel, then I make content on studying and settling abroad, which will give you an edge. So make sure that you subscribe to this channel right now. Also, if you have this dream of studying from one of the top B schools or universities abroad, then I run my own consulting service called Collegiado. So I will help you make that dream come true and help you with the entire application process. So if you're interested in that, the link is in the description and you can contact me through the website. So let's get started, and starting with the factors that are really important when you're choosing your university for your undergrad. If you're planning to study abroad, if not, then it's okay. So I'll be covering two factors which are really important, starting with the number one factor, which is the conversion scale of your university. So if you're in your first year or even the fourth year of your university, you might not know that this thing even exists. It's okay. We never know that these things are evaluated later on. Even I did not know this when I was in my second or third year. I came to know of this in my fourth year when I was actually applying. So the thing is that in India, most of the universities have the CGPA system where you don't get the percentage but you get the CGPA. And if you overlook this factor, then a student studying in other university with the same CGPA might have a higher percentage. Sounds shocking, right? But that is true, and that is what I want to bring to your notice so that you can address this. And if you have already not started your undergrad, then you can choose a university wisely. So the thing is that you get your CGPA and then the university has the conversion scale, which then converts your CGPA into percentage. So I studied from Punjab University, and luckily for me, the conversion scale was 10. So my CGPA got directly converted into percentage. So that is really good. So a lot of universities have this system in place. Suppose you get your CGPA 8, but then the conversion scale is 9.5 or even 8.9, and that drastically reduces your percentage. And that's really bad because you are scoring the same marks as the person who is sitting in the other university, but that person would have a higher percentage when it would get converted. So you are already behind in the race even when you are getting the same CGPA. So this thing is really important when you are enrolling in an educational institute. Then make sure that you ask what is the conversion scale, and that will help you a lot if you are applying to countries which focus a lot on the percentage, and Canada is one of them. Having studied from Canada, I know this, that they have this cutoff, so you have to score more than that. And through my consulting service, I've been talking to a lot of people, so I get to hear a lot of this from the students who I'm helping with the consulting service. So they tell me that their CGPA is 7.9, and when I ask them what's the conversion scale, they don't know, and then they check it. So that's one thing. And the other thing that people tell me is that in their class, the person with the highest marks is the person with 80% or even 75%, and that the university is not generous in giving marks. So there's one thing which I would not recommend, but I'm just giving you all the options. So what I've heard is that private colleges are a lot more generous in giving out marks to people, and also there are variations in branches. I've done my engineering and I've done it in ECE. So in our class, it was that if you get 75 to 85%, you were the king of the class. But in IT or CSE, people were getting 9. So there's this huge disparity which can even occur inside the institution between different departments, and that's okay. I will never tell you this, that choose your branch according to the percentage that you will get. No, don't do that. Choose it based on your interest and skills. So these are the things that I'll cover later on. Suppose that you want to study in a branch which doesn't offer that high of a percentage, what are the things that you can do? So you can stick till the end if you are interested in knowing about those factors. Suppose there are two equally good universities and you have to see which one that you want to go into, then choose the one which has a higher conversion scale. And one thing I feel is that all the good universities would have 10 as their conversion scale, so you can check that. And there is another factor that you should consider when deciding your university, and that is the exposure you will get. I will tell you why it's important. So now it's not unlike in the past where only a few people would get access to education. People have this opportunity to educate themselves, so education is not a distinguishing factor anymore. A lot of people would get 80%, a lot of people would be competing with you and are getting 85-90%. But what can make you stand apart, and why standing apart is important is because university universities and B schools these days don't look just at your academics. They look at how good a leader you can be, how good can you work with teams, so that if you do not have any work experience, you can demonstrate through your involvement in your undergrad. And also coming to the point that I told you, that the city can also be important. So how the city can play an important role, I'll tell you by giving my personal example. So before that, coming back to the exposure, when you are assessing your university, talk to people, talk to the seniors, talk to the alumni about the clubs there. Suppose if the university does not have any club, like the technical club, the training placement cell, the literary club, and other clubs according to the branch that you are studying in. So make sure that you are looking into these factors, because if there's no club, then you can't participate in these clubs, and then you can't take on leadership positions, then you can't write about those in your SOP. So that's one thing that you have to consider. And the other thing is that, is there any annual fest which is happening? Does your university provide resources or even the information that this competition is happening and they are sending students to go and participate in that competition? So these factors are really important, because this is what you will do something apart from your academics, and this is what can make you stand apart in the entire pool of applicants. Now coming to my personal example and why even the city can play an important role, is that I was confused if I should go to Thapar. If you're from Punjab, you would know these institutions. So Thapar is in Patiala, and then Punjab University is in Chandigarh, and moreover Thapar is private and it's more expensive. So I was in a fix, which should I prefer, and then I analyzed and talked to people. So I made my mind to pursue my education from Punjab University, and I'm really glad that I took that decision, because first I saved a lot of money and the placements are almost similar, so that's not a big deal. And the second reason is that Punjab University is located in Chandigarh as opposed to Thapar, which is located in Patiala, and I believe that Chandigarh has a lot more opportunities than are present in Patiala. Of course, you can overcome these restrictions. I will be giving out tips towards the end, but I think this has played a huge important role in building up my profile for the top B school. So I started from the Schulich School of Business. So the opportunity that Chandigarh gave me, which Patiala would not have given, I'm talking about the importance of cities, so that's why these cities. So Chandigarh gave me this opportunity to be part of Make a Difference, which is an NGO back in India, and it is not present in Patiala, and I think in Punjab it's only present in Chandigarh and Mohali as of now. So I got this chance to be the fundraising manager of the entire Tri-City there. So that was one big achievement, and if there was no Make a Difference, I would not have gotten that chance. And I was just a student, but I was handling the citywide operations for fundraising for this organization. So that also helped me stand apart from the other candidates who were interviewing for the same program, the same B school. So that is the reason why I was telling you that city can also play a huge role in your overall development. And this is not just restricted to applying abroad, but the overall development of your personality. And for the parents who are watching this, I know that people don't prefer sending their children to Chandigarh कि वो बिगड़ जाएंगे या ऐसा कुछ हो जाएगा. But I'm here and I'm fine. You just need to trust your children, and if they do, you have all the means to scold them and to guide them, bring them back on the proper path. Don't be afraid of sending your children to study in a new place. That is okay. They will act responsible, and with age they do get the maturity and know what's right and what's wrong, so it's fine. Now coming to the part where you're already pursuing your undergrad and you don't have this option to choose your university at this point. So there are a few points that can help you address the opportunities that you're missing out on. So let's come to these now. Now suppose that you are in a university or a college which has no clubs. They don't even have a mention of any club. So you're screwed. No, you are not. Actually, that's a really amazing opportunity of showing the quality of taking initiatives to your prospective B schools or universities. What you can do is that you can start your own club. See what the students are passionate about and align it with your interests, and start that club. Take the help of a few friends, and believe me, if you're taking the initiative, even the teachers and the professors, they would appreciate. I hope they do, but at least you can give it a shot and see what happens. That would be incredible, because there was nothing there and you took an initiative. So that's also the quality of a leader. There was nothing and you built something, so that shows that you are a person who is willing to take initiatives and does not just merely participate, but is the person who takes action. So that's one example of how you can compensate for that. The second thing is that if there are no competitions that your school is informing of, or if there are no technical cultural fests happening at your college, then don't worry. You have the internet, the amazing resource. Make sure that you search on the internet if you are a coding enthusiast. So there are a lot of hackathons happening in India. So you can see that what are the opportunities that I can avail and register for those competitions. And even you can ask your friends studying in different colleges that hey, notify me when any event occurs, and also please do register me for the same. So that's another example. And now coming to the point, what if your town is a dull one? There's nothing happening, there's no NGO, nothing at all. So what you can do is that, of course, you are a human being, you would have your your own interest, you would have your own hobbies, so you can hone on those hobbies. So if you like playing the piano or guitar, if you like cooking, if you like baking, you can start your own initiative. You can start a blog, you can start a YouTube channel, you can start a podcast. There are numerous opportunities available in this era of internet and social media. So make sure that if there's nothing happening, then if you're interested, you can tap into these platforms. So these are just a few ideas, and if you're watching this video and an idea pops up in your head, make sure that you put that in the comment box so that everyone values from it. And now coming to the part where I told you that do not fall into this trap. So the trap that I was talking about was to mindlessly gather certificates, participate in events just for the heck of it, so that you know that you are going to apply abroad and you will show all these certificates and you show that you participated here, you did this thing, you did that. That's not the right attitude, and universities do not care about participation. I can't stress this enough. They care about results, they care about your efforts, your interest, your drive, your passion. And if you're merely participating, it means that you're not that interested that you will take it to the next level. Of course, there would be certain things that you would just be participating in, but it does not have to be everything that you are doing, you are just participating for the heck of it. You have to stay true to yourself. Suppose if I said that you can make a blog, but if you are not interested in that, it's okay. You can do something which interests you. So make sure that you stay true to your interests and develop skills. So that is good. I'm not discouraging you from that. What I'm discouraging you from doing is to do something just for the sole focus of acquiring certificates. Because believe me, even when you're appearing for a job, even when you're applying abroad, no one is even going to take a look at those certificates. What they're going to look at is your story and what you have done, what you have achieved. So instead of falling into that mindless trap, make sure that you identify that, okay, these are the 2-3 things that I'm really passionate about and I would love to invest my time in these things, and make sure that you do something meaningful. And I'm not saying that you have to be a convener of a group, you have to be the head of the group. Even if you are participating, make sure that you give your opinions and you give suggestions that will help make a change. You take on the role of a leader, and to take on the role of a leader, you necessarily do not have to be at the top. One example I would just like to highlight from my story is that I was the editor-in-chief of the magazine. They do not care if I was the editor-in-chief. Of course, I would have done some work that I got led to that position, but then what is more compelling is that what I did, and that is how you can distinguish yourself from other students, because there will be a lot of other editor-in-chiefs competing with you. There will be a lot of the people who are volunteered for an NGO competing with you, because that's becoming more common these days. So just an example from my personal story. So our annual college magazine, I wanted to make it more bright, more cheerful, because it was given out to the seniors on their graduation. So I went to the treasurer, I negotiated for a budget increase. That did not happen because the treasurer told me that the budget has already been set and you have to manage in this. Right from the time when I started reading Reader's Digest that I want to be an editor one day. Like, it wasn't that when I grow up I wanted to be an editor. It was just like that childhood dream that I wanted to fulfill, and I got this opportunity. And the moment I landed at my university and I saw that this thing happens, I laid my eyes on it that okay, I have to be the editor-in-chief and I want to make something. And I was so happy when I got that position, but that didn't stop there. I was happy because I knew that now I would be able to bring a change, and what I did was that I wanted to make it more bright and not just black and white or monochrome. So I went to 15 printing presses in Chandigarh, and finally then I found one owner of the printing who would concede to my demands and would do that work in the budget that I had. So these are the kind of stories that will make your case more compelling. Suppose that if you are appearing for an interview for your B school or university and they ask you, okay, what's your proudest achievement till date? And if you tell that my proudest achievement is that I was the editor-in-chief of the annual college magazine, that doesn't sound that compelling. But if you craft a story that when you were the editor-in-chief of the magazine, what is the change that you brought? What was the result? And how did you manage everything? And what's the process that you use? So these intricate details are what make your story more personal and what helps you stand apart from all the other people competing against you. So first, analyze like what you want to do in your university, because you will be baffled by all the options. Some universities have plenty of clubs, plenty of competitions happening, and you can get confused. So take time, try to assimilate all the things and see where you would be a good fit. And it's okay, you can explore, like you can participate in certain things just to explore and see if you like that. And that's what I did when I was in my undergrad. And when you are in a role which you have the passion for, make sure that you make it count and not just leave it as just a mere designation on your resume. Even if you're doing one thing, but if you're doing it with all your heart and soul and you're making a tremendous impact by being a part of that club, that is fine. That is a lot better than participating in say 10 activities and not doing anything significant. So make sure that you invest your time wisely. And undergrad is a lovely phase. Believe me, I still miss my PU days. I still miss living in Chandigarh and everything, and my university, the city, and my friends. So make it a point that you explore various things, and then also make it a point that you have some fun with your friends, because these are going to be one of the best days of your life. Of course, you will have fun later on. Have a balance, do everything, and you are going to miss these days. So make sure that you make the most. So this was it for today. I hope that it brought value to you and you make all the right decisions now, and don't mindlessly participate in each and everything. And if you like the video, make sure that you hit the like button, subscribe to the video, and don't miss out on hitting that bell icon, because that's really important. When my video comes out, you will be the first one to get notified, and you can find value in the content. Until my next video, take care and stay happy. Bye.